This week on Motorhead Garage, Brian and John concentrate on cold air.
Welcome to Motorhead Garage, presented by Dustless Blasting. You know, we're talking horsepower, and that's my favorite thing in the world. Actually, the only thing better than that is making more of it. We have a blown 2015 Camaro on one side. We got this beautiful 2016 Camaro SS on the other. And the two things they have in common are having high-performance engines, and those engines are basically air pumps. The more efficient we can make the air pump, the more power they're going to make. And people that have been making more power for more than a decade are from Roto-fab. Mike from Roto-fab is here, and we're going to be talking about some different products, but mainly cold air intakes. Mike, you guys have been making these things for a decade plus. What makes a good cold air intake?
So first we have to isolate engine bay heat. So we pick up the air from outside, we run as large a filter as we can, and then we get it to the throttle body in the smoothest way possible.
And we look at some of these different applications here, it's not all the same. You know, sometimes you seal the hood, and sometimes you build a box.
Right, not all engine bays are the same. So this seals to the hood, it allows us to run a larger filter. This is for a supercharged application. When we can seal to the hood, we do. We get all the advantages of the lid without having to take up the space that a lid takes up.
And it's cool too because, you know, you guys, your background, 10 years with Lingenfelter Performance, you know what it takes to move air properly, but also how to fabricate and get things to fit right. Everything from a 69 Camaro you're going to LS swap to a late model Camaro like we're looking at here. Your process is about kind of custom fitment, right?
Right, and the same approach I took at Lingenfelter is we hand make a product, we test it, we develop to the fullest extent possible. We don't pay much attention to how much it costs to develop it. And when we get something that works, then we figure out how to duplicate it.
Tuning, modern engines, pretty finicky on that front. You got fuel injection, you got a lot of technology here. What is the tune-up situation with these?
That's a great question because we not only, any of these intakes will install without setting a code, but we go a step further than that. We have our own development techniques to make these things achieve the most power possible on the stock calibration.
Perfect. Not only cold air intakes here at Roto-fab, you guys are also in the engine beautification business. You have these great engine covers here. You got this is for an LS engine, obviously, covering up the coil packs and everything. And you have a plenum cover. What I dig about these, thick gauge aluminum, and they use the factory installation points, which is great.
Right, and those are really becoming popular with all the LS swaps going on nowadays.
So, Mike, we're going to install a Roto-fab air intake on that 2016 Camaro, and that's what's going on the car, right?
Right, right. And on the 2016 Camaro, this is the stock inlet duct. So what our air box does is engages this duct, actually increases the size of the duct, and then we seal to the hood completely around the perimeter. So what we end up with is a box completely sealed to the intake and maximizing space inside by sealing to the hood, which allows us to run this huge filter.
Well, John doesn't have a huge brain, but he's pretty good with his hands, so he's going to start the install over there and show us just how easy it goes together.
That's right, Brian. It's a big head because there's a lot of brain power in there. But fortunately, we don't have to use a lot of it because the guys at Roto-fab couldn't make it any easier. Step-by-step killer instructions. I mean, it's simple to put this thing in. Now, the disassembly process, just as easy. We went ahead and popped off the sound tube. We took the mass airflow sensor off, the evap system, popped the hose off, and then the whole box come off as a unit. I'm here with Jeremiah from Roto-fab now. We got an upgrade. You're the fabricator, so you're going to walk us through this install. Let's start right here with the box.
Yes, sir. First step's going to be pre-assembly. Bolt up our mass airflow sensor housing.
Now this is going into the box, and this is unique. This is pretty proprietary because you guys are doing this and you're actually sealing that up. Going from a 6-inch down, stepping down, what does that do?
It creates a velocity stack, increasing the airflow into the motor.
Now a lot of tubes just push in there, there's a big gap, and what the finished product, it actually looks like this here. It's what's real nice. You can see it's all sealed right here. We're stepping down, we're getting that velocity stack. Even the tube steps down as it starts to go in, so we're making more horsepower as we go.
Correct.
All right, the box is next. Walk us through the install. Now I took a little PB blaster, I sprayed it on the grommets. That makes the install just a little bit easier. Any grommets, any advantage we can like to use, we use it here. And that's it.
That's about all it takes.
What's next?
Next is the inlet elbow.
Okay, now we got a couple choices with that. Let's take a look at these real quick. You have a choice with this elbow here, which actually has the grommet for the sound tube, right?
The factory sound tube.
Now what if I don't want that? I want to make sure all the air is getting in there.
Yep, that's the sound tube delete elbow.
Sound tube delete kit, cool. And you can have the evaporative emission stuffs right here, so we're not messing with any of that. Now walk us through the install of this.
Engage the elbow into the pump hose.
Okay, it's a matter of just getting that seal in there and making sure it's a tight seal. It's all about that volumetric efficiency, getting that air in there. Now, we talked about that, and Brian talked about that earlier, that stack velocity. So as we're going through, that's where this good manufacturing process comes in. You can see the tubes and the flow of the air and the manufacturing, that you don't have any of these ripples or bends in there that's going to cause the air to slow down and actually heat up the air as well. That's going to tighten up those clamps right there. Now that's going into the throttle body. Now this is pretty cool because once again, we're dealing with that factory stuff, no modifications. So now you can go ahead and put that sound tube back in if you want that, or the delete kit, either one. What's next, Jeremiah?
Final step, we're going to put our mass airflow sensor in the MAF housing.
And walk us through that. That's pretty easy. It's just a matter of putting it in. And
2 Phillips screws, and
the factory one comes out of the other one. Pretty similar.
mm-hmm.
All right, we get those snugged up. So you got the system in there, you got it all tucked in there real nice. All right, Jeremiah, you got the mass airflow sensor in, now the whole magic here, the actual cold air filter, man.
Last but not least, the air filter.
Now this is a pretty simple install. All the hardware is included, just a couple of hand tools you have to supply, but you know what? I think even Brian can do this, no problem. If you want a cold air intake for yourself, just go to roto-fab.com and stick around. Don't go too far because we'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by Dustless Blasting.